Hi, this is Kerry again. I'd like to talk about the impending doom that's coming tomorrow, February 1st. The Trump tariffs on Canada, while Japan's getting them, EU, Mexico, and probably further down in the summer, there'll probably be something against Greenland. But for us, it's probably going to be bad news. I don't know exactly what's being planned. I don't know what the counter tariffs are. It's all going to come out tomorrow. I think it'll all be pretty messed up, but we'll see. Now, the one thing I don't understand, what everybody's going on about these tariffs, like they're like eternal or something. In 2 years, in 2026, the U.S. goes to the election for Congress and the Senate, and I mean they only have about a 10-seat or less majority in Congress and a few seats in the Senate. If they lose one or both of those, which is you never can roll them out as they're always going to be that way. I mean, Congress for about 40, 50 years was Democrat from the 1940s on to the 90s or so. So it's not impossible that it goes back. How that changes everything. Nobody talks about that. It's all like this is an eternal thing. It's going to be once it's done, it'll stay there forever. Now, maybe will happen. I don't know. But I mean, the other part is Trump's only around till 2028. And what's J.D. Vance or the other, and maybe his challenger beats him. I don't know. But I mean, are they going to continue? Is J.D. Vance going to want to court his own way forward? Depending on where he gets his funding, he may change the deal on these tariffs. I don't know. Nobody knows. But in Europe, they're concerned. In Japan, they're concerned. Mexico, Canada, and like I said, in Greenland, I'm sure they'll be tariffed or accept a U.S. surrender. U.S. the terms of surrender. I mean, I'm sure they'll do that sometime in the summer. It's definitely going to happen. And then the other thing that goes on is you got the BRICS countries that Trump just said, if you don't do business in the U.S. dollar, we're going to increase your tariffs to 100%, maybe more. Unlike the Western countries mentioned, Canada, Japan, Europe, I don't think the BRICS care. I don't think they care at all. Even the ones that are thinking about being BRICS. Because one, if you treat your friends like this, like they're treating Canada, Europe, and Japan, you're not going to be kind to us if we're Indonesia or Saudi Arabia or whatever. You're not going to treat us good. You don't treat them good. And those are your friends. They're like you. We've got cultural differences that you don't have with them. So I don't think the BRICS countries care. Because one, if you're buying something in Brazil, selling something to Indonesia, Indonesia is paying in a Brazilian currency. So Indonesia is going to most likely buy something from Brazil to use up that Brazilian currency. And it'll go back and forth and back and forth. And countries are going to do that. The U.S. gets no percentage off of the change to the dollar. And, that's just a standard way of doing business. It makes total sense. So I don't think the tariffs will be a big concern to the BRICS countries at all. Because the BRICS countries, like I said, Trump's only around for 4 years. Then we see. The BRICS countries are the long haul. They're 100 years down the road. That's when they see the fruits of their labors. And the other thing I don't understand, and I've never understood this with the United States, is they've never bothered to work in America's alliance, like North, Central, and Latin America together. They've never tried to build a big trading bloc, whether it's a free trade zone or whatever, or just improve the countries all the way up and down, north, south. I mean, Brazil is a big economy. It's not exactly that I would say that I'm going to travel there to because I don't see the security in it. I hear a lot of bad stories about going to Brazil and being robbed or what have you. Colombia, Venezuela, it's not hardly the kind of countries I'm going to go to. But I mean, you should be doing business with them. Brazil's has got a good economy. Why not do a lot more business with them? Increase trade. Colombia went from a narcotic state in the 80s to an aspiring economy about 2010 or so. Why wouldn't you keep going with that? Why would you work with these countries? What do you have to lose? You're going to make make product down there, sell goods back and forth. Why would you not be doing that? It's not like you got to only do that, but why would you just shun them? and treat them like crap, like they always have done. Again, getting back to BRICS. BRICS looks at South America, they look at Africa as trade partners. They don't look at them as redheaded stepchild. They don't care. China just built a giant port in Peru. So they're going to bring big boats into Peru. The plan is to bring them into Peru to move them into South America. They also want to run a train from Peru all the way to Brazil on the Atlantic. They want to send them, reload the boats on the Atlantic and send them throughout Europe, Africa, the Middle East, wherever they want to go. They'll completely bypass the United States. And the Panama Canal, they won't care about. They'll just move their product through that way. They know what they're doing. They're trying to work with these countries. The United States has had so many decades to not work with them. Why would any of them trust them? Nobody does. Has U.S. tried to do anything with Argentina in the past year or two with that Milei? He's done a great job. It's only been a short time, but he's trying. When you've had decades and decades of being destroyed by the World Bank and the IMF, he's turning the corner. He's trying at least. Why would you not help? Bukele in El Salvador, same thing. Crush the crime in his country, is working to make the country better. Why would you not work with these countries? They're so close. And they got a lot in common with you. But the U.S. just doesn't want to do anything with the Americas. I've never understood it. It just totally makes no sense to me. They just keep doing their stuff. They want to dominate and put bases up. Maybe it's because they don't there's no reason to put bases in Central and Latin America. Maybe that's why. Because they seem to do business everywhere they have giant military bases. Indonesia, the Philippines, in the Middle East, Europe. They've been kicked out of Africa. Most of the African countries have kicked out France and in the United States. They don't want their military there. They're trying to take over their own country, take it back from France. France and the U.S. and the IMF and the World Bank have destroyed them for decades. They're poor. They're dirt poor with most valuable minerals around. How does that make sense? But this is what it is. So they've taken it back. And they're going to do things their way. And they're going to work with China, Russia, whoever. They're not going to trust the United States or Europe. You can bet that. So they're more likely going to lean towards the BRICS people. They're just building. They got to feed their people, get some energy infrastructure, and they're going to find ways to do it. Why? Because they're trying. Under the Americans and the Europeans' leadership, they weren't allowed to try. They were just told to do and worship their masters. They're tired of that. And now they're courting their own world. They're creating their own world for themselves. And it's probably going to work. As for the U.S., the U.S. is going to be the U.S. They're going to keep going on, doing what they're doing. Nobody's going to change anything. They're still going to be needed them. They're going to still do business with other countries. Tariffs or not, doesn't matter. The bottom line is these other countries will get around the tariffs on other places. So they'll be able to sell to other countries. They won't care so much what the tariffs are because they're making money. You're making money over here. Do you care about the tariffs? It kind of works out. It's not a big deal. But that's what the world is going towards. And the United States just doesn't seem to see it. And is that group, that people that just don't want to work with anybody. And they have no relationship working with anybody because you'd thought they worked with Europe and Canada. And here, look what they're doing to their best friends. They're pushing them. They're punishing them with tariffs. Why? Because they can. That's why. If that's what you do with your friends, your friends are going to eventually look for somewhere else too to do business. That's the way I see it. I don't know. But again, you've only got 4 years, maybe 2. If everything switches in 2026, you then end up being more of a lame duck. Right now, Donald Trump is the cult of personality. Everything's working out. Everything he says is going through. Nobody's changing anything. Nobody's complaining about anything. Well, they're complaining, but nobody's listening. And he's just forging ahead with whatever he wants to do. But as time goes by, once you get into 26, 27, he's a year away from being out. You know, he can't continue on for a third term. That doesn't happen. So we'll have to see where J.D. Vance comes out. And usually you're not going to find out what a vice president is going to do as president pretty much until the election, very close to the 2028 election. And again, who's going to be running against him? We won't know. But anything can always happen. Absolutely anything can happen. If all these things backfire, all these great plans, the cult of personality, the do it my way attitude, it's going to work. But if it doesn't, then you got a problem and the Democrats can seize control. But we'll see. Everything goes on. Tariffs come tomorrow. We'll see what happens. I'm sure, like I said, it'll be bad for Canada. Some other countries have probably a fair shake, not us. But that's the way I see it. Anyways, like and subscribe. Leave comments if you want. And I'll get back to you. Okay? Take it easy.